I am the oldest son of 4 boys born to a preacher and a teacher on the south side of Chicago. My mother is the teacher. She taught us how to write cursive. She worked at my elementary school. She graduated with her master's in mathematics from Chicago State University, all while raising 4 boys who destroyed everything in sight. My father is the preacher. We went to church 25 hours a day, 8 days a week. My grandmother was the pastor. My father was the assistant pastor. My mother was the choir leader. All of us were in the band. All of us sang. My other grandmother was the mother of the church. You get it. Church was not a part of our life. Church was our life. We all grew up in the same house. We were a working class family. It was my grandmother. It was myself, my 3 brothers, my mother, my father, my aunt, my uncle, and my 3 cousins. And our lives revolved around church, family, education, and Disney movies. See, my grandmother, she would go out every month and bring home the new VHS tape from McDonald's. Now, for those that don't know, VHS tapes were these plastic things you put inside of a VCR and they would play movies. And we would get lost in them, all of us. We knew all the songs. There goes the baker with his tray, as always. You remember? You think you own whatever land you land on. We knew it all. And all Disney movies really go through the same type story. You start from the bottom. You work really hard. You wish upon a star. Riches beyond belief and happily ever after. And we grew up poor, and so we always dreamed of that life of having riches beyond measure and happily ever after. This is all we want. We would stay up in the middle of the night all the time. We watch Blank Check or Richie Rich, and we think about this buying a street, and we name it the Agnew and Overton Street, and my cousins would be around the corner, and I'd be upstairs, and this was our dream, riches beyond belief. When I was in 3rd grade, my father was on Jeopardy. This was our chance. I remember it was my first week at a new school, and I was an emotional child. I'm a Cancer. I cried every day when I came home from this school. And even though it was a horrible experience for them not to be home and him to be in California, I secretly thought every day, my dad's gonna win Jeopardy, and I will never have to see you motherfuckers ever again. So we waited and we waited and we waited, and we finally got the call. How did you do? Well, son, I bet it all on a double Jeopardy, and I got it wrong. I've thought about that day a lot. Like, what if my dad had remembered that the Secretary of State under Lincoln was Stanton, not Seward? Everything would be different. Alex Trebek and his fact checkers just dashed all of our dreams of riches beyond belief and happily ever after. So he came home, actually, with the salad shooter. Do you all remember those commercials? Salad shooter. He came home. And so I decided at that point that education had to be my pathway to riches, because basketball wasn't working out. My 5'7.5" frame. And so I tested and I fasted and I prayed and I got into Whitney M. Young High School. It's one of the number 1 high schools in the country. Thank you. And it seemed like my dreams were starting to really come true. I had worked hard. I had wished upon a star, prayed to Jesus, and gotten into this school. And this school used to always have universities come and recruit because we were the creme de la creme. They wanted us to go to their schools. And one day, Florida A&M University came knocking. Florida A&M University is a historically black college and university located in Tallahassee, Florida. They had an incredible business school, and they had an incredible music program. We all grew up singing and playing music, so this was a match made in heaven. I chose that school sight unseen. I didn't visit it. I had watched Different World growing up and Drumline. And I was like, it's gonna be just like that. So I'm going there. So I wound up at Florida A&M University. And I was a monster. When you would meet me my freshman year, I would come up to you and I would say, hello, my name is Philip B. Agnew. I'm a first-year business administration student from the windy city of Chicago, Illinois. I am majoring in business because I intend to do major business. I did that for an entire year. And I really wanted to belong. I wanted to be a part of things. I wanted to join things, and I wanted to be in the in crowd. So I decided to join student government, or SGA as we call it. Now you have to trust me, this was a very cool thing to do. And I don't know how, I still can't understand, but I became freshman class president. Thank you. And being the incumbent, I was also subsequently elected sophomore class president. I ran unopposed. I eventually continued to ascend the ranks to student body vice president. I joined a fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, and in just a matter of a few years, I had become almost everything that I had dreamed of. I worked hard, I wished upon a star, and here I was, the person who didn't get invited to parties. I was now the person throwing the parties. I couldn't be stopped. I got a call after my sophomore year from a man named Daryl Parks. He was an attorney in Tallahassee, Florida. This was a person that I really looked up to. He was a hulking figure. He was a member of my fraternity. He had been student body president at Florida A&M, a seat that I wanted. He had done it twice. Wow. And when he called, you answered. And so he said, I want you to come to my office. And I said, all right. You know, he used to throw happy hours. And it was the summer, and I wanted to be a part of these happy hours. And so when he said be there at 5, I showed up at 4:45, ready for the happy hour. And I showed up to his office, and I got in there, and there were many leather-bound books, and the room smelled of rich mahogany, and there were pictures of him with many dignitaries, and he ushered us into a room with a long wooden table. There were students from other schools there, and we all sat down at the table. And he wheeled in a TV, and it had a VCR on it. You all remember. And he put in a tape, and I thought to myself, man, this boy know how to throw a party. And he put in this tape, and it was a little bit grainy. I couldn't really make it out, but I saw some, it looked like some kids running in a circle. And I thought to myself, man, this is a little bit weird. And they kept running, and then one of the kids fell down. And then some guards came in from off of the screen, and they picked him up, and they just began to beat him. And they just began to pummel him. And they just continued to hit him. And I'm looking to my left and my right, and I'm saying, this is not what I wanted. This is not why I'm here. This is what is going on here? What is happening right now? And everybody in the room was stunned, and he fell. And I still remember a nurse went off of the screen, and she came back, and she had her hands on her hips, and she handed something to the guards, and I'm wondering, maybe she's going to do something. And she just stood there, and he fell to the ground, and they picked him up, and he flailed a little bit, and then he went limp. And I thought to myself, this isn't what I signed up for. This is not what I did. This is before you can go on social media and just see a baby on the beach dead, or an entire city in rubble, and just continue to scroll. This undid me. This devastated me. I had realized that I had just watched this young man be murdered. And Daryl Parks, he looked at me and he said, I don't know why people listen to you. I don't know why you're so popular, your little self at that school. But this was a 14-year-old boy named Martin Lee Anderson. He had stolen his grandmother's car. His grandmother wanted her car back. She called the police. They arrested him. When he went to stand before the judge, the grandma pleaded with him, said, don't send my baby to prison. And in a rare act of mercy in the state of Florida, they said, all right, we'll send him to a boot camp. And within a week of him being in that boot camp, he was murdered by the guards. They beat him within an inch of his life. And in an effort to revive him, put ammonia tablets up his nose and suffocated him. He is now dead. And I thought about my brother Danny going to boot camps up in Chicago, and I thought about everything that I had wanted up until that point. I had worked hard, I had wished upon a star, and I could see the riches that were just right there, but my journey was taking an entire different direction. Daryl Parks looked down to me and he said, "You are going to have to do something about this." And we did. We organized and we got together and we fought and we protested. I had the keys to a university vehicle that I was supposed to use for shuttles. We didn't use it for shuttles, and we took it to the prison county over, and we protested against the prison. And eventually they closed the prison, they fired the sheriff, and they arrested all of the guards who had beaten this boy to death. They told us that we couldn't do it, but we did it. We felt powerful. It was a magical moment. But it was a moment that I had to understand and remember that life isn't a Disney movie. It was a moment that taught me that in Florida, Disney World is the only place where dreams come true for boys like Martin Lee Anderson or Trayvon Martin or my Haitian brothers and sisters or the workers in Immokalee or a Homestead. And 6 months later, they reopened the boot camp under a different name. They rehired the sheriff with another job, more money, and less responsibility. And they acquitted every single one of those guards. My life changed that day. That day is singularly responsible for me being here today. That journey that was started on that day, all the things that I had wanted, all the things that I thought and I imagined I wanted were thrown out of that window. And 20 years later, I'm still on that journey. We're still fighting. We are still working. And I don't believe in wishing upon a star anymore. But I believe if we want freedom, if we're willing to struggle for it, if we're willing to fight for it, that together, I can build a whole new world with you. I guess Disney ain't that bad after all. Thank you.